have proper state funding for schools, the way the Constitution outlines, then we can see a significantly lower burden on property taxpayers. We can certainly begin to lower this burden that ordinary people have on their homes, their life investment, on their businesses. You know, if we want a good business climate in Illinois, it starts with reforming the property tax. I've been there. I've been in that vineyard for a long time, and I know that there's going to be false prophets running around Illinois saying you don't have to do anything. Just stand still, cut the budget of the state government for education by 10%. Make sure that everybody knows what this fellow's talking about. He wants to cut the school budget in Illinois, the education budget, by 10%. Well, how are you going to fund the schools? What are we going to say to a first grader this year going to first grade? Well, you're in a classroom of 35 kids. We hope you can read. We want kids to read. We want to make sure kids really get a good start in learning. And that means properly funding the schools, not having severe cuts in our schools. So there's a real choice, and that's where I stand. I think, well, the most important part of state government is education, fundamental. We've got to make sure we have well-educated citizens so we can have good jobs and keep good jobs, to do hard, complex tasks, to invent new products, to start new businesses. Jobs follow brain power. We have to have smart people. I want to be a person who fights for education every day. I'm not going to be cutting and slashing schools in Illinois the way my opponent does. Now, I think the best way to get there is what I outlined this year that I'm campaigning for this November 2nd. I think a 1% surcharge for schools, exclusively for education, is the best way to invest in education and good learning, but also to hold the line and reduce property taxes. Everybody knows if you look at your property tax bill, and I've looked at tens of thousands of them. I was a judge of property tax appeals in this county. I heard thousands of cases. When you look at the property tax bill, the lion's share of your property tax goes for education. If the state doesn't do its job, if it fails to invest in education, if it cuts its budget for schools by billions, then the local property taxes go up even higher than the unfair level they're at today.
Now, I understand the Constitution requires us to fund education. It also requires us to have a balanced budget.
Well, you know, we've had to use borrowing, and I'm still pursuing that in order to make sure we pay all the bills of Illinois by year's end. And I've said that'll happen. It happened last year. It'll happen this year. We'll be in the credit marketplace, and we've been able to get favorable rates in order to pay down the bills we're owed. Matter of fact, recently we did that, and we have over $1 billion now, or almost $1 billion, to begin to pay down some of the debt the state has. This is not an easy thing. The Great Recession has caused great travail, and what we have to do is not throw up our hands, but rather band together and work together to go forward. Our state has created more jobs than any other state in the Midwest and since the beginning of this year, and we want to keep doing that. Well, here, if you don't pay down the bills, a lot of these vendors hire people. They employ people. I don't want to see those people laid off. That aggravates the recession. Well, I've proposed that. If we got the 1% surcharge for education, it would have been a lot easier job as far as our budget goes. But that will come to pass because, as I said, I think when people finally come to vote, it'll be 90 plus days from now, they're going to say, if I vote for Quinn, I know he's going to fight as hard as possible to keep our property taxes as low as possible. The other guy is telling a lot of fairy tales. He doesn't have any kind of plan other than 10% cut in education, laying off thousands of teachers, and raising property taxes. That's not a very good plan. I think it's a lousy plan for Illinois today and tomorrow.
What guarantees are your plan?
Yeah. Yeah, our legislation was drafted so that it goes directly to direct state aid for education, for special ed as well, for early childhood education, for community colleges. Our 48 community colleges, third largest system in the whole country, they're the envy of the United States. We have enrollment increases of double digits in almost every single one. They are supported in large part by property taxes and state funding. If the state doesn't fund the community colleges, which are very nimble, help our workers adjust to the changing economy, if that doesn't happen, then local property taxpayers have to pick up the tab, and we don't have as good education as we should. The legislation was crystal clear that every single penny would go into funding schools properly. If we do that well in Illinois, I don't want any state to out-educate us. I'm happy to tell the voters that we want to have the best education in the country. Nobody should out-educate Illinois. We have smart people. We have dedicated people. This young man who died today, he went through Lincoln Challenge Academy with exemplary grades. Then he got a scholarship to Richland Community College. Now that's what I'm looking for. People who really have that zeal to learn, that want to make a difference. And if we invest in them, Illinois will be in good hands for centuries. All right, I think we covered that. Thank you.